Hey, Tommy from the Run Testers. In this video, we are going to be comparing the Saucony Ride 18 with the Asics Novablast 5. Let's peruse these shoes. The Saucony Ride 18 costs £130 or $140. It weighs 266 grams or 9.4 ounces for men in a size 8, and the drop is 8mm. The Asics Novablast 5 costs £135 or $140. It weighs 256 grams or 9 ounces for men in a size 8, and the drop is 8mm. The Saucony Ride 18 is a daily shoe that receives a few updates to the popular Ride 17. The biggest of those is the addition of PWRRUN Plus in the midsole, a foam designed to make the shoe lighter, softer and more responsive than its predecessor, as well as an improved level of energy return. The outsole also aims to have better durability and grip, alongside a smoother ride due to flex grooves towards the front of the shoe. Finally, there's a new engineered mesh upper to increase breathability and provide a stretchy fit to improve lockdown and comfort. In addition, there's an updated heel collar designed for an improved level of cushioning. The shoe is also available in a wide version. The Asics Novablast 5 continues the popular daily shoe line with a new FF Blast Max midsole foam designed to be softer and bouncier, while still retaining the same weight as the Novablast 4. The shoe features a new Jacquard mesh upper instead of the previous woven material used in the Novablast 4, the aim being to improve the fit and ensure a good level of breathability. There's a similar trampoline-inspired outsole to previous versions to improve comfort, and covering that is a healthy layer of rubber for grip and protection.
So in terms of fit, it's been very good for me on both of these shoes. No major issues to report. I've got them both in a UK size 8. That is my typical running shoe size. I would say they are true to size fitting shoes, and what I like about the approach on both fronts is that they have a no-nonsense approach to delivering that kind of experience. They are kind of padded in the key areas without feeling overly padded. There's good space up front of the toe box. I've had no issue in terms of getting good lockdown with the laces and the tongue, though the tongues are slightly differently. The heel collars are very good, very consistent as well, and have caused no irritation. Now, there are a couple of key areas where I would say they are slightly different. I think if you look at the midfoot or middle section of these shoes, the midfoot hold feels a little bit nicer on the Saucony Ride 18, just hugs a little bit closer, and I think I slightly prefer that, but some might prefer the kind of accommodating one on the Novablast 5. When you look at the tongues, the Novablast 5 has this kind of gusseted style one, which takes a little bit of fiddling around to get it in place initially, but doesn't move about. The one on the Ride 18 is kind of definitely a more heavily padded one, not overly padded, but kind of offers a little bit more comfort on the top of your foot. So yeah, those are kind of key little differences, but overall, I think these are very no-nonsense fitting shoes, very comfortable, padded in the right places, and are going to give you good room in that kind of forefoot area and generally give you no issues elsewhere.
Okay, so the fit for me in these two shoes is pretty similar actually. There is plenty of space in the forefoot of both of these shoes. Very nice, comfortable bit of space. And they're very similar overall in terms of the space you get in the upper. The forefoot, there's plenty of space around the sides of the feet. And overall, I'd say definitely stick to your size in both of these shoes. The only slight difference is I think the ride's probably a little bit thinner, a little bit narrower, but not massively. I'm a size 8 in the UK. These are both size 8s, and I'd definitely stay to my size in both of these shoes. Very, very comfortable shoes. Nice bit of padding in them. Definitely stick to your size. Okay, so these are two great daily shoes that tick a lot of boxes for people, whether you want cost-effective general running shoes that you can use for lots of different things, whether you want comfort, whether you want a little bit of versatility, all those sorts of things these two shoes tick off. And I like both of these shoes. I think they're both really solid options if you're looking for a good daily trainer. And in fact, these are probably a good example of where brands are producing a daily trainer that undercuts some of the more premium shoes they've got, but is actually slightly better in some ways. I would say definitely with a Ride 18, I think this is a better shoe than the Triumph 22 now, which is considerably more expensive. So really good solid shoes and a great value on both counts. Both shoes are great all-rounders up to a point. Ride 18, I just think is a great shoe for anything from easy runs all the way up to slightly faster training sessions. If you're out to do a tempo session, if you're going to do a long run at a slightly faster pace or a consistent pace, great shoe for that. The midsole in the Ride 18 for me is just a little bit firmer, and as a result is just a little bit more responsive if you want to pick up the pace. But it's still very, very comfortable at easy pace, but it's not a really soft midsole like you will get in some shoes. It's not hard by any stretch of the imagination, but it sits in the middle nicely. It's a nice balanced midsole. So I very much enjoyed using this for my marathon training over the past few months. Used it for basically any run where I went out and I wanted to do a nice comfortable pace. I wouldn't use it specifically as an easy run shoe. I've got better shoes for that, things like the Wobbly 5 that I prefer for easy runs, but it can do it. It can do it fine. If you're looking for one pair of shoes to buy and you wanted to do all of your runs in it, this is a nice option that isn't too expensive, and it's a good holiday shoe. You can take it away with you and you can do the easy stuff, you can do slightly faster stuff, it can do a lot of stuff. The Novablast 5, pretty similar on most counts. I would say it's not as versatile. So the midsole foam in the Novablast 5 is a little bit softer, and as a result I don't think it's as responsive, and it's not as good at picking up the pace on those quicker sessions that you want to do. So slightly less versatile on that side, but it skews more towards the easier runs for me. So even though it's relatively versatile for a daily shoe, it's a better easy day shoe for me. It's very comfortable. This midsole is very nice. There's a little bit of energy return from it, not loads, but it definitely helps you when you're trying to maintain a nice consistent pace. But I definitely would say it's a fast shoe, but it is a versatile shoe to a point. You could, if you just had one shoe and you wanted to go and do faster sessions in it, and your tempo runs and things like that, it's absolutely fine for that. And I know some people use it for marathons at certain paces because it's a solid all-rounder. So both of these shoes quite similar in a lot of ways, but I think it really just comes down to that slight difference in the midsole and your preference when it comes to shoes. For me, I normally go for a softer midsole when I'm doing easier stuff, and slightly firmer one when I'm doing faster stuff, basically. So I've used these quite a lot, but I think the Novablast 5 just goes for those easier sessions a bit better than the Ride 18, but the Ride 18 goes a little bit faster than the Novablast 5. The outsole on the Ride 18, really, really good. Nice solid layer of rubber on this outsole, really, really good, really grippy, and no signs of wear or tear on that after all of the miles I've done it. The Novablast 5, also a very good outsole. Very thick layer of rubber on the Novablast 5. Really, really solid. Take a while to get down to that midsole foam, so pretty impressed by it so far. And I've used both of these on lots of roads and public footpaths as well. They've both really fared quite well. So good outsole rubber on both of them. So in terms of my running time with these two shoes, I've done 50k in both. I would say these definitely epitomise what I would say are workhorse daily trainer shoes. These are shoes, if you've only got room for one shoe in your life, you've only got money for one shoe in your life, these are ones that can cover a lot of your running time. Maybe not your all-out fastest runs, but will do a lot of the other stuff and cover a lot of other bases. Now, I'll start with the Saucony Ride 18, which I would kind of describe as a more kind of traditional daily trainer, particularly compared to something like the Novablast 5 and a lot of other daily trainers. Now, that's not to do it any disservice. I just think that is probably going to make it work for a lot more people, or a lot of people, I would say. What I like about this shoe is that it hasn't arguably got Saucony's liveliest kind of midsole technology. It's got that PWRRUN Plus, but it's got that kind of sock line, PWRRUN Plus sock line there, which means you've got something that feels very soft and comfortable to fit in. But what I think that midsole does, in combination with everything else, it gives you something that gives you a little bit of bounce, a little bit of enjoyment there, but also keeps things very controlled, very balanced, and I think very smooth. And it feels like a shoe that you can really kind of roll through very nicely. And there isn't this massively rocketed feeling here, but I think what, the makeup in terms of the weight of the shoe, how that midsole feels underneath your foot, it definitely has a capability in making it feel like a very solid kind of consistent shoe to run in. I think also what I think is, obviously you're getting a lot of stack of kind of foam here in both of these shoes, but I think you notice it a little bit less, and I feel like the Ride 18 keeps you a little bit closer to the ground. I think that adds to that kind of more responsive feel that I feel that I get from it when I run a little bit more up tempo in it, and it does feel a touch more versatile for me compared to my time in the Novablast 5. Now, that's not to say the Novablast 5 isn't a versatile shoe. Absolutely is. That's really what it's about.
I think, you know, when you've got kind of factoring the FF Blast Max midsole foam here, which is definitely a lot softer, definitely feels that you've got more of it, you know, foam-wise compared to the Ride 18. It definitely does feel softer, but it does roll through very nicely as well. I do think that it doesn't maybe has the same level of snap that the Ride 18 has, but I do think you can tick over very nicely in the Novablast 5. I really like running longer in the Novablast 5, where you're not necessarily wanting to run all out harder, maybe trying to go more up tempo, but it really knows, or you really know you've got something very comfortable underneath. You really know you've got something really comfortable underneath your feet and really protective as well. And I think maybe the energy return works a little bit better compared to the Ride 18. Again, I think I would be using the same types of runs. I think, you know, not super easy runs, but definitely something that are a little bit slower than your moderate pace. Moderate pace runs, they absolutely can work for. I think some people will get some more tempo running time out of the Novablast 5. I found it more comfortable to do it in the Ride 18. Now, from a durability outsole point of view, there's similar levels of outsole rubber here, but maybe a bit more coverage on the lateral sides of the Novablast 5 compared to the Ride 18. I found them absolutely fine on pavements and roads. I wouldn't hesitate doing some lighter trail, running in my parks as well. I think they'd be fine to do that. So I think from that point of view, being shoes, as I said, that are workhorse shoes, they absolutely kind of fit the bill. I do think there are some differences. There are some things I've liked about one over the other. Which one I'd go for? I'll get into that next. So my take whether you should go for the Saucony Ride 18 or the Asics Novablast 5. Now, I do think these are two of the best kind of value daily trainer shoes that you can get. And even if you compare it to some other more expensive shoes, they definitely deliver better performance all round compared to some pricier options. Now, if it was me, based on my experience, based on my running time, factoring things like the price as well, which again is very similar, I personally would be going for the Saucony Ride 18. Now, I think they will work for generally the same types of runs. I have just found that on slightly more up-tempo running, I felt more comfortable doing that in the Saucony Ride 18. I would definitely value, when I look for a shoe, something that's going to give me a bit more versatility and maybe save me from thinking, oh, I maybe need to get another shoe. And that's what I've kind of been left kind of thinking when I've run in the Ride 18 compared to the Novablast 5. This isn't a bad shoe, and I think loads of people are going to love the Novablast 5 over the Ride 18. I think particularly from a longer run perspective, I think if you prefer a softer feeling shoe, and again, this is a shoe that's going to feel very controlled to run in, not too unstable either, but probably is a little bit less stable compared to the kind of feeling of running in the Ride 18, which I think, you know, is going to make it a more accessible shoe for a lot more people, a shoe that's going to work for a lot more runners, and that is the shoe that I'd be going for. As I said, I think the Novablast 5 is a standout kind of good value daily trainer shoe as well, but if it was my money, I'd be going for the Saucony Ride 18.
Okay, so my verdict on these two shoes, tricky one because I like both of them, and I think they're both great options if you're looking for a general all-round daily shoe that can do a lot of different types of runs. I think it really just comes down to your preference when it comes to those sorts of runs. If you are a general runner that basically does easy-ish runs all the time, you want something that really skews more towards the comfort side of things, I'd say the Novablast 5 is the best option. It's a very comfortable shoe to run in, but is quite versatile to an extent as well. Ride 18, if you like a slightly firmer midsole, maybe if you're running at maybe a slightly faster pace than you would in the Novablast 5, I think that the Ride 18 is probably the one to go for. But they're both really solid all-round shoes. I'd be happy to use either of these for most of my runs, between easy-ish runs all the way up to sort of faster, consistent training efforts, because they really do a similar job. For me, I'm actually going to pick the Saucony Ride 18, and the reason for that is I wouldn't use either of these as my easy day shoe. I prefer a much softer, easy shoe that is nice and comfortable all the time, and then I will move on to another shoe to maybe do my faster sessions and things like that. For me, the Ride 18 just fits above the easy run shoes as a little bit more of a versatile shoe that you could use for faster training sessions, things like that. I tend to use this for if I'm just ticking off a lot of miles, but I want to be able to maintain a nice consistent pace. I wouldn't use something like the More V5 if I was doing that. And I'd probably go for a faster super trainer if I was going for proper interval sessions and things like that. But I think this really nicely sits just above that sort of easy day shoe and that sort of interval session shoe where you want something that can do quite a bit but allows you the flexibility to go out and do whatever type of running you want to do. Whereas the Novablast 5 I think is definitely more of an easy shoe for me based on the ride and the comfort of that midsole foam. So I'm going to go for the Ride 18 on this one, just because I think there's a little bit more to it, especially for my style of running. That's it from us on this Versus. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click that little bell. And if you're going to catch me below, you can find it to our podcast, which comes out a couple of times each month. Thanks a lot for watching. Catch you next time.